When answering questions involving triangles at GCSE higher level, you're faced with some choices. The first thing you need to ask yourself when looking at the question is the triangle right-angled? If it is, then the question is usually going to be quite easy, and you just need to decide whether or not you're going to use SOHCAHTOA or Pythagoras' theorem. If the question does not involve any angles, then you'll use Pythagoras' theorem. A squared equals b squared plus c squared. If there are angles involved, then there's going to be some right-angled trigonometry, and you'll need to decide whether to use sin, cos or tan. This tutorial is concerned with non-right-angled triangles. We can either use the sine rule or the cosine rule. We use the cosine rule if we don't know a side and its opposite angle. If we do know a side and its opposite angle, then the sine rule is the one that we'll use. I'm going to look at some examples first, and then I'm going to leave you 4 questions to do for homework. So the first triangle here on the left, I've got to find one side. Here it's called x. Now I know another side of 7 and its opposite angle of 60, so that's making me think about the sine rule. So I'm going to write down the sine rule and see if I can populate some of the variables. I've used the letter x just because that's the letter that's used in the triangle. There's no real necessity to use a over sine a equals b over sine b. Just use the letters that are there. Now x is the one I'm going to find, so I don't know what that is, but I do know the opposite angle to x, which is 80 degrees. So I'm going to put sine of 80 under there and make that all equal to, now side A is any other side with its opposite angle. So I'm going to put 7 over the sine of 60 there. Now I need to rearrange to get x on its own. So I'm going to say that x is equal to 7 times the sin of 80 all over the sin of 60. And when I put that into my calculator, I get the answer. For the question on the right, I need to look at my angle of 70 and see if there's an opposite side to it. Now in this case, QR, I don't know. If I want to find the side QR here, then I'm going to have to use a different rule. If I can't use the sine rule, because 4 doesn't have an angle opposite and 13 doesn't have an angle opposite, I'm going to have to use the cosine rule. So first thing I'll do is write down the cosine rule. I now need to put the right numbers in the right places. Now because the only angle is angle A, because I've got cos of A, I'm going to have to replace that with the angle P, which is okay because the side I'm trying to find is the side opposite P. So I'm going to keep calling that A squared. Now B and C, it doesn't matter, so I'm going to say 13 squared plus 4 squared, take away 2 times 13 times 4 times by the cos of my angle, 70 degrees. When I put that into my calculator, I get 149. If I square root both sides, I find that A is equal to 12.22 centimetres. And if I look back at my diagram with sides of 4 and 13, then 12.22 sounds about right. Now the easiest of the 3 rules for trigonometry, other than SOHCAHTOA, is the area rule. If I'm given the area or I'm asked to find the area, then that's the rule that I will use. And here you can see that I'm asked to calculate the area of the triangle. So I'm going to write down the area rule first of all. Now just because I've used the letters A, B and C, that doesn't mean that they are the angles and sides I have to substitute in. The key thing here is that I will use the angle and the lengths on either side of it. So to find the area of this triangle, I will use a half times by 9 times by 15 times by the sin of 110 degrees. the answer to that, 63.43 degrees. And my question has said that it wants it to 3 significant figures, so I'm going to rewrite that as 63.4 degrees. The triangle on the right hand side, when I look at that, I'm looking for opposite angles and sides. Well, I've got two pairs here. I've got to find one of the angles and I know its opposite side, and I know another side and its opposite angle. So the sine rule is what I'm going to use. However, here I'm going to use the version which just puts the sine at the top of the fraction. That just makes the rearranging much easier. You notice they've used theta here, a Greek symbol. Don't let that worry you, it's just the same as any other letter. So now I need to replace all of the variables that I can with a value. Well, if I'm finding the sine of theta on the right hand side, sine of A is going to have to be the sine of 81 divided by its opposite side, which is 18. And the sine of theta, I'm going to find that, and that is equal to, that is divided by the 7. If I rearrange that, I multiply both sides by 7, so I have 7 times by the sin of 81 divided by 18, and if I now put the sin to the minus 1 of the left hand side, I get the answer. And in this case, that answer is 22.59 degrees. Okay, one more page before you do some for yourselves. The triangle at the top left here, we can see that we've got 3 sides, and if I'm asked to find any one of those angles, I'll choose this one. No real reason for it. I haven't got any more angles to be opposite sides, so I can't use the sine rule. There's no area involved in the question, so it's going to have to be the cosine rule. You'll notice that I've used the version of the cosine rule which has the cos of A on the left hand side. This is one that you will have to remember because they don't give it you in the formula book. So if I now start to fill out values into my formula, now cos of A is the one that I'm trying to find. This is the angle A. So the opposite side will be A. So I'm going to leave that till the end. I'm going to put in 10 squared plus 26 squared. Now I'm going to take away 24 squared, put that all over 2 times 10 times 26. That gives me cos of A is equal to, and when I type into my calculator, then I want the cos to the minus 1 of 5 over 13. I get the answer 67.38 degrees. The last example I'm going to show you is down in the bottom right of the screen here. Now this one, I've got 3 sides and I'm trying to find an angle. Now the angle I'm trying to find, I know the opposite side, however I don't know any of the other angles opposite sides, so I can't use the sine rule. So this is going to be the cosine rule yet again. Now this is very similar to the question to the top left, so I'm not going to go through that. Instead, I'm going to show you these questions here, these 4 questions. The one on the top right, you see the side circled is C. I want you to find the length of C. Top right, I want you to find the area of that small triangle, PQR. Bottom left, I want you to find the angle on the left. And the bottom right, I want you to find the whole of the side C. So pause this now, please. Sketch the triangles onto your paper, show all your working out, and give your answer to 3 significant figures. 3 significant figures. Thank you.